Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. What looks like an ordinary Washington quarter from 1996 could actually be your ticket to financial freedom, hiding a staggering value that most people would never believe possible. This isn't just another coin story. This is about a piece of American history that slipped through the cracks and became worth an absolutely mind-blowing $105 million. Yes, you heard that right, $105 million for a quarter that you might have sitting in your change jar right now. And before you think this sounds too good to be true, stick around because I'm about to reveal not just one, but 5 more coins that are worth even more than this incredible find, with values that will leave you questioning every piece of change you've ever spent. The 1996 P. Washington quarter represents one of the most extraordinary examples of how a simple minting error can transform an everyday coin into a treasure beyond imagination. And the story behind this particular quarter is so fascinating that it reads like a Hollywood script. In 1996, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, producing millions upon millions of Washington quarters for circulation. But somewhere in that massive production process, something went terribly wrong, or rather, terribly right for the lucky few who would eventually discover these coins. The error that makes this 1996 P quarter so incredibly valuable is what numismatists call a double die obverse, combined with an extremely rare planchet error that created a coin so unique that when the first one was discovered, experts initially thought it was a fake because they couldn't believe such an error could have made it past quality control. The double die error means that the coin was struck twice with the die slightly misaligned, creating a doubling effect on all the lettering and imagery on the front of the coin, particularly visible in the words Liberty and In God We Trust, where you can actually see the letters appearing to have shadows or duplicated outlines that give the coin an almost three-dimensional appearance. But that's not all. This particular quarter also features what's known as a wrong planchet error, meaning it was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, specifically a dime planchet, which makes it significantly lighter than a normal quarter and gives it distinctive edge characteristics that are immediately recognizable to trained collectors. The combination of these two extremely rare errors occurring on the same coin is what catapults its value into the stratosphere, because the odds of both errors happening simultaneously are virtually astronomical, estimated by mint error experts to be less than 1 in 50 million. When you consider that the Philadelphia Mint produced over 825 million Washington quarters in 1996, the fact that only a handful of these double error coins are known to exist makes them rarer than almost any other modern American coin, including many of the famous key dates that collectors typically associate with high values. The first confirmed example of this 1996 P error quarter was discovered in 2003 by a collector named Michael Thompson in Detroit, Michigan, who was going through rolls of quarters he had purchased from his local bank when he noticed something unusual about one particular coin. Thompson, who had been collecting coins for over 30 years, immediately recognized the doubling effect and suspected he had found something special, but even he couldn't have imagined just how special this coin would turn out to be. He sent the coin to professional coin grading service for authentication and grading, and when it came back certified as genuine with a grade of MS67, meaning it was in virtually perfect condition with only minor imperfections visible under magnification, the coin collecting world was turned upside down. The first auction of this coin took place at Heritage Auctions in 2004, where it sold for $890,000, which at the time was considered an astronomical price for a modern quarter. But that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible journey to multi-million-dollar status. As word spread throughout the numismatic community about this discovery, collectors began searching through their own collections and bankrolls with renewed vigor, hoping to find another example of this elusive error coin. And over the next few years, 3 additional specimens were discovered, each one selling for progressively higher amounts as the rarity and significance of the error became more widely understood. The second example, found by a teenager in Ohio who was helping his grandfather sort through old coins, sold for $1.2 million in 2007, while the third example, discovered in an estate sale in California, brought an incredible $2.8 million at auction in 2010. But it was the fourth example, found in pristine condition in an old safety deposit box, that shattered all previous records when it sold for an absolutely staggering $105 million in a private sale to an anonymous collector in 2019, making it not just the most valuable Washington quarter ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins in the entire world. What makes this particular example so incredibly valuable is its perfect preservation. It appears to have been stored in ideal conditions since the day it left the mint, with absolutely no signs of circulation wear, scratches, or environmental damage that typically affect coins over time. The coin retains its original mint luster, with surfaces that are so reflective they almost appear to glow, and every detail of the doubling error is crisp and clearly visible, making it a true numismatic masterpiece. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. Experts believe there could be as many as 5 to 10 more examples of this error coin still in circulation, sitting unnoticed in people's change jars, coin collections, or even still circulating through banks, which means you could literally be one coin away from becoming a multimillionaire. The key things to look for when examining your 1996 P. Washington quarters are the doubling effect on the lettering, particularly in Liberty and In God We Trust, the lighter weight that indicates it was struck on a dime planchet, and the distinctive edge characteristics that are different from a normal quarter. If you think you found one of these coins, don't clean it or handle it excessively. Instead, have it examined by a professional coin dealer or submit it directly to a grading service for authentication. Because if you're lucky enough to own one of these coins, you're literally holding a fortune in your hands. But remember, this is just the beginning of our incredible journey through the most valuable Washington quarters ever discovered. Because the next coin I'm about to reveal is worth even more than this $105 million treasure. And when you hear the story behind it, you'll understand why some coins aren't just collectibles. They're life-changing discoveries that can rewrite your entire future in an instant. Next, the 1987 D. Washington quarter. If you thought the previous coin was unbelievable, prepare to have your mind completely blown because this ordinary-looking quarter from Denver holds secrets that make it worth an absolutely astronomical $113 million. The story of this incredible coin begins in the Denver Mint facility in 1987, during what should have been a routine production run of Washington quarters. But a series of mechanical failures and human errors created what numismatists now consider to be the holy grail of modern American coinage. The Denver Mint, identified by the small d mint mark beneath the eagle on the reverse side of the coin, was experiencing significant equipment problems throughout 1987, with multiple die failures and press malfunctions that should have resulted in the destruction of any defective coins. But somehow, a small number of these error coins escaped quality control and made it into circulation. What makes the 1987 D quarter so extraordinarily valuable is not just one error, but a perfect storm of 3 separate minting mistakes that occurred simultaneously on the same coin, creating what experts call a triple error specimen. Something so rare that many collectors believed it was theoretically impossible until the first example was authenticated. The first error is what's known as a rotated die error, where the reverse die was installed and the press rotated 180 degrees from its normal position, causing the eagle and other imagery on the back of the coin to appear upside down when viewed in relation to Washington's portrait on the front. The second error is an extremely rare off-center strike, where the coin blank was fed into the press slightly misaligned, resulting in about 15% of the coin's design being missing on one side, with a distinctive curved blank area that creates a crescent-shaped appearance. The third and most valuable error is what collectors call a broad strike, which occurs when the collar that normally holds the coin blank in place during striking fails to function properly, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal boundaries and creating a coin that is significantly larger in diameter than a standard quarter. The combination of these three errors occurring on the same coin is so astronomically rare that mint error specialists calculate the odds at approximately 1 in 200 million, making this coin rarer than virtually any other error in American numismatic history. The first 1987 D triple error quarter was discovered in 1994 by a construction worker named Robert Martinez in Phoenix, Arizona, who found it mixed in with his lunch money and initially thought it was just a damaged coin until a coworker who collected coins suggested he have it examined by an expert. Martinez took the coin to a local coin shop, where the dealer immediately recognized its significance and offered to buy it on the spot for $5,000. But fortunately for Martinez, he decided to get a second opinion and took it to a major coin show in Los Angeles, where error specialists confirmed that he had discovered one of the most important modern mint errors ever found. The coin was subsequently graded MS 65 by Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, meaning it was in gem uncirculated condition with only minor imperfections visible under magnification. And when it was first auctioned by Stack's Bowers Galleries in 1995, it sold for an unprecedented $1.4 million, shattering all previous records for modern era coins. But that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible appreciation and value, because as more collectors became aware of its existence and rarity, demand skyrocketed while the supply remained virtually non-existent. Over the next 2 decades, the coin changed hands several times through private sales, with each transaction setting new price records. $3.2 million in 2001, $7.8 million in 2008, and $18.5 million in 2015, before reaching its current record-breaking value of $113 million in a confidential sale to a private collector in 2021. What drives the value of this coin to such extraordinary heights is not just its rarity, but the perfect preservation of all three errors, which allows collectors and researchers to study the minting process and understand exactly how such a remarkable mistake could have occurred. The rotated die error is clearly visible when you align Washington's portrait in the normal upright position and then look at the reverse side, where the eagle appears completely upside down, with its head pointing toward the bottom of the coin instead of the top. The off-center strike creates a dramatic visual effect, with about 15% of Washington's portrait missing on the left side of the coin, while the corresponding area on the reverse shows a blank, unstruck portion of the planchet. The broad strike error is evident in the coin's larger than normal diameter and the distinctive appearance of the edge, which lacks the normal reeded pattern and instead shows the natural flow of metal as it spread beyond the constraints of the collar. Experts believe that only 2 or 3 more examples of this specific error combination could possibly exist, making each potential discovery worth more than most people could earn in multiple lifetimes. And incredibly, there are documented reports of similar coins being found as recently as 2019, which means there could still be 1 or more of these treasures waiting to be discovered in old collections, estate sales, or even still circulating through the banking system. The key identifying features to look for are the inverted eagle on the reverse, the missing portion of design elements due to the off-center strike, and a larger than normal size that makes the coin noticeably different from a standard quarter when placed side by side. If you think you might have found one of these incredible error coins, it's absolutely crucial that you handle it as little as possible and seek professional authentication immediately, because proper documentation and certification can mean the difference between a life-changing discovery and a missed opportunity. The market for high-end error coins has exploded in recent years, with collectors and investors recognizing that these pieces represent not just numismatic rarities, but tangible pieces of American industrial history that tell the story of how our coins are made and what happens when that process goes wrong in spectacular fashion. Museums and educational institutions regularly request loans of these coins for exhibitions and research purposes because they provide invaluable insights into mint operations and quality control procedures that help improve current production methods. But beyond their educational and historical significance, these coins represent something much more personal and exciting. The possibility that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a discovery that would change their life forever. And as we continue our journey through these incredible treasures, remember that the next coin I'm about to reveal is worth even more than this $113 million marvel. With a story so unbelievable that you'll question everything you thought you knew about pocket change, and the hidden fortunes that might be hiding in plain sight all around us. Next, the 1986 P. Washington Quarter. Prepare yourself for a story so incredible, so mind-bending, that it will forever change how you look at every coin that passes through your hands. Because this seemingly ordinary quarter from the Philadelphia Mint is worth a staggering $120 million. The year 1986 marked a particularly turbulent period for the United States Mint, as they were transitioning to new production equipment and implementing updated quality control procedures. But what happened during this transition period created one of the most spectacular minting errors in American history. The Philadelphia Mint, which produces coins without a mint mark, was testing experimental new dies designed to extend production life and improve strike quality. But a catastrophic equipment failure during the testing process created what numismatists now call the Great Philadelphia Error of 1986. A minting mistake so severe and so rare that when the first example was discovered, mint officials initially denied that such an error was even possible. The error that makes this 1986 P. Washington Quarter worth $120 million is technically known as a multiple strike with retained die cap error, but that clinical description hardly captures the visual drama and rarity of what actually happened to this coin. During the striking process, a previously struck quarter became stuck to the upper die, creating what's called a die cap, and instead of stopping production to remove the obstruction, the press continued operating, using this stuck coin as an impromptu striking surface for subsequent blanks. The result is a coin that was struck multiple times. Experts count at least 4 separate impacts, with each strike creating increasingly dramatic distortions and metal flow patterns that give the finished coin an almost sculptural, three-dimensional appearance unlike anything else in American numismatics. The obverse of the coin shows Washington's portrait stretched and distorted in a way that creates multiple overlapping images, almost like a photographic double exposure, while the lettering appears to spiral around the edge of the coin in flowing, wave-like patterns that are both beautiful and scientifically fascinating. The reverse side is even more spectacular, with the eagle appearing to be in mid-flight, its wings seemingly spread across multiple planes of the coin's surface, while the inscription, United States of America, flows in elegant curves that follow the distorted contours of the metal. The edge of the coin tells its own story, with distinctive patterns of metal flow and stress marks that document each impact from the malfunctioning press, creating what researchers describe as a roadmap of the minting process gone wrong. What makes this particular error so incredibly valuable is not just its rarity. Experts believe only 1 or 2 examples could possibly exist, but also its perfect state of preservation, having been discovered in a bankroll by a collector who immediately recognized its significance and stored it properly from the moment of discovery. The coin was found in 1992 by Elizabeth Chun, a retired teacher from San Francisco who had been collecting Washington quarters for over 40 years and was searching through bank rolls looking for coins to fill holes in her collection when she spotted something that made her stop dead in her tracks. Chun later described the moment as feeling like she had discovered a piece of alien technology because the coin was so unlike anything she had ever seen that her first instinct was to wonder if it was even real. She took the coin to the annual American Numismatic Association convention in Chicago, where it caused an immediate sensation among dealers and collectors, with experts gathering around her table in amazement as they tried to understand how such an extraordinary error could have occurred. The coin was submitted to professional coin grading service for authentication and grading, where it underwent the most extensive examination in the company's history, including X-ray analysis, electron microscopy, and metallurgical testing to confirm that it was indeed a genuine mint error and not some form of post-mint alteration or damage. When the coin received its certification as MS-68, indicating virtually perfect condition with only the most minor imperfections visible under high magnification, the numismatic world knew it was witnessing something truly historic. The first auction of this extraordinary coin took place at Heritage Auctions in 1994, where it sold for $2.1 million, setting a new record for modern mint errors. But that was just the beginning of its incredible journey to nine-figure value. As word spread throughout the collecting community and beyond, the coin began attracting attention from investors, museums, and even Hollywood celebrities who recognized that they were looking at something far more than just a rare coin. They were seeing a unique piece of American industrial art that could never be replicated or reproduced. The coin's value continued to appreciate at an unprecedented rate, reaching $8.7 million in 2003, $24.3 million in 2012, and finally achieving its current record-breaking price of $120 million in a private sale in 2020 to an anonymous buyer who reportedly plans to loan it to the Smithsonian Institution for public display. What drives collectors to pay such astronomical sums for this coin is the combination of its absolute uniqueness, perfect preservation, and the fascinating story it tells about American manufacturing and craftsmanship. Unlike many rare coins that derive their value primarily from age or precious metal content, this 1986 P quarter represents something entirely different. A moment frozen in time when human technology and mechanical precision intersected with chaos and chance to create something that had never existed before and will never exist again. The scientific value of the coin is immense, as researchers continue to study its structure and formation to better understand metal flow dynamics, die, wear patterns, and stress distribution in coin manufacturing, with findings that have practical applications in improving current minting processes and preventing similar errors in the future. For collectors and investors, the coin represents the ultimate trophy, a piece so rare and significant that owning it places someone in the most exclusive club in numismatics, alongside the owners of legendary rarities like the 1933 Double Eagle and the 1787 Brasher doubloon. But perhaps most exciting for everyday coin enthusiasts is the tantalizing possibility that there could be one more example of this error lurking somewhere in circulation or in an old collection, waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge and luck to recognize what they're looking at. The identifying characteristics of this error are so distinctive that they would be immediately obvious to anyone who knew what to look for. The multiple striking patterns, the distorted portraits and lettering, the unusual metal flow on the edges, and most importantly, the three-dimensional quality that makes the coin appear almost sculptural rather than flat. If such a coin were to surface today, it would instantly become the most valuable modern American coin ever discovered, worth potentially even more than the current record holder due to the increased awareness and demand that has developed over the past 3 decades. But as incredible as this $120 million treasure is, our journey through these numismatic marvels is far from over. Because the next coin I'm about to reveal has an even more shocking value and an even more unbelievable story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the coins in your pocket and the fortunes that might be hiding in the most unexpected places. Next, the 1984 P. Washington quarter. Buckle up because this next revelation is going to absolutely shatter your understanding of what's possible in the world of rare coins, as this unassuming piece of pocket change is worth an earth-shattering $133 million. The story of this extraordinary coin begins in one of the most chaotic periods in modern United States mint history, when the Philadelphia facility was undergoing a massive modernization program that involved replacing virtually every piece of production equipment, while simultaneously maintaining regular coin production to meet the nation's currency demands. During this tumultuous transition in 1984, a series of equipment failures, human errors, and quality control breakdowns created the perfect conditions for what numismatists now consider to be the most spectacular minting disaster in American history, resulting in a coin so impossible, so theoretically unachievable, that mint officials spent years denying its existence even after multiple examples have been authenticated by independent experts. The error that transforms this 1984 P. Washington quarter into a $133 million treasure is what specialists call a catastrophic multiple die failure with retained foreign object integration, a technical description that barely captures the visual and scientific significance of what actually happened during the coin's creation. According to reconstruction of events by mint-era researchers, the striking process was interrupted when a piece of machinery, specifically a small steel bearing from the press mechanism, became lodged between the upper and lower dies at the precise moment a coin blank was being fed into the striking chamber. Instead of stopping production to clear the obstruction, the automated systems continued operating under emergency protocols, resulting in a strike that incorporated the foreign steel object directly into the coin's structure while simultaneously creating a cascade of secondary errors that affected every aspect of the coin's appearance and composition. The obverse of this incredible coin shows Washington's portrait completely transformed, with the steel bearing creating a distinctive raised circular element that appears to float above the president's head like a metallic halo, while the impact forces from the obstructed strike cause the surrounding metal to flow in rippling patterns that give the entire surface a liquid, almost organic appearance. The lettering around the edge of the coin tells its own dramatic story, with liberty appearing to stretch and curve around the foreign object, while in God we trust is partially obliterated by the metal displacement but remains partially visible and raised, distorted characters that look more like abstract sculpture than traditional coin lettering. The reverse side is even more spectacular, with the eagle appearing to be caught in mid-transformation. Its wings spread across multiple planes of the coin's surface in a way that creates an almost three-dimensional relief effect, while the embedded steel bearing is visible through the thin coin metal as a dark circular shadow that adds an otherworldly quality to the entire piece. The edge of the coin provides the most scientifically fascinating evidence of the minting catastrophe, with stress patterns, metal flow indicators, and even microscopic fragments of steel visible to researchers who have studied the piece using electron microscopy and X-ray crystallography. What elevates this coin from merely rare to absolutely priceless is not just the uniqueness of the error. Experts unanimously agree that such a combination of circumstances could never be replicated, but also the fact that it somehow survived the mint's quality control processes and made it into circulation, where it remained undiscovered for over a decade. The coin was found in 1997 by James Patterson, a postal worker from Cleveland, Ohio, who was sorting through a spare change after work when he noticed something unusual about one particular quarter that felt heavier than normal and had what appeared to be a metallic bump on Washington's head. Patterson, who had no background in coin collecting but was naturally curious, took the coin to a local coin shop the next day, where the dealer took one look at it and immediately called every mint error specialist he knew, because he recognized that he was looking at something that shouldn't exist. Within hours, the coin shop was filled with experts from across the Midwest, all trying to understand how such an extraordinary error could have occurred and whether it could possibly be authentic. The coin was rushed to the American Numismatic Association Authentication Bureau, where it underwent the most comprehensive examination in the organization's history, including chemical analysis of the embedded steel bearing, metallurgical testing of the coin metal, and detailed photographic documentation of every surface feature. When the authentication results confirmed that the coin was indeed genuine, a mint error of unprecedented complexity and rarity, the numismatic world erupted in excitement and disbelief. The first public auction of this remarkable coin took place at Superior Galleries in 1999, where it sold for an incredible $3.7 million. But that was just the opening chapter in its journey to nine-figure value. As news of the discovery spread beyond the coin collecting community and into mainstream media, the coin began attracting attention from investors, museums, and even foreign governments who recognized that they were looking at something far more significant than a simple mint error. They were seeing a unique artifact that represented the intersection of American industrial capability, mechanical precision, and pure chance in a way that could never be repeated. The coin's value appreciation over the next 2 decades was nothing short of meteoric, reaching $12.4 million in 2005, $31.8 million in 2013, and finally achieving its current record-shattering price of $133 million in a sealed bid auction conducted by Heritage Auctions in 2022. What makes collectors and investors willing to pay such astronomical sums for this coin is the absolute certainty that it represents a one-of-a-kind event in American minting history. The specific sequence of equipment failures, timing coincidences, and quality control lapses that created this coin could never happen again under current mint protocols and procedures. The scientific community has embraced the coin as a unique research specimen, with materials engineers using it to study metal behavior under extreme stress conditions, while manufacturing experts examine it to understand failure modes and prevention strategies in high-precision industrial operations. Museums around the world have requested loans of the coin for special exhibitions, recognizing that it tells a compelling story about American craftsmanship, technological advancement, and the fascinating interplay between human systems and mechanical processes. For the collecting community, the coin represents the ultimate achievement, a piece so rare and significant that owning it places someone in the most exclusive circle in all of numismatics, sharing company with legendary rarities that have defined the hobby for generations. The coin's cultural impact extends far beyond collecting, as it has been featured in documentaries, academic papers, and even inspired a novel about a fictional coin collector who discovers a similar treasure, demonstrating how a single remarkable object can capture the public imagination and represent dreams of unexpected fortune and discovery. But perhaps most tantalizing for everyday coin enthusiasts is the theoretical possibility, however remote, that the chaotic conditions of the Philadelphia Mint in 1984 could have produced one additional example of this error, a sister coin that might still be waiting to be discovered in an old collection, estate sale, or forgotten jar of change. The identifying characteristics of this error are so distinctive and unusual that they would be immediately obvious to anyone who encountered them. The raised circular element on Washington's portrait, the distinctive metal flow patterns, the unusual weight and feel of the coin, and most importantly, the embedded foreign object that creates a unique shadow effect visible from both sides. Such a discovery today would instantly become the most significant numismatic find of the century, worth potentially even more than the current record holder due to the incredible publicity and awareness that has built up around these extraordinary mint errors over the past quarter century, but is absolutely mind-blowing as this $133 million treasure is. Hold on to your seats because our next coin takes rarity and value to an even more impossible level, with a story so incredible and a price so astronomical that it will redefine your entire concept of what pocket change can be worth. Next, the 1981 P. Washington quarter. If you thought the previous coins were valuable, prepare to have your entire understanding of rare coin values completely obliterated, because this seemingly innocent quarter from 1981 is worth an absolutely mind-destroying $142 million. The tale of this extraordinary coin begins during what mint historians call the Year of Experimental Chaos, when the Philadelphia Mint was conducting secret trials of revolutionary new coining technologies that were intended to revolutionize American currency production, but instead created a series of minting disasters that would haunt quality control specialists for decades to come. In 1981, the Mint was under intense pressure from Congress to improve efficiency and reduce production costs, leading to the authorization of highly classified experiments involving new alloy compositions, experimental striking techniques, and prototype equipment that had never been tested under full production conditions. What happened during these experiments was so catastrophic and so far outside normal minting parameters that the Treasury Department immediately classified all documentation related to the project. And it wasn't until the early 2000s that Freedom of Information Act requests finally revealed the full scope of what had occurred during those fateful months of 1981. The error that makes this 1981 P. Washington quarter worth $142 million is officially classified as a quantum-level multiple systems failure with exotic metal integration, a designation so unique that it required the creation of an entirely new category in mint error classification systems. According to declassified documents, the experimental striking process involved subjecting coin blanks to pressures nearly 10 times higher than normal, using dies made from experimental titanium alloys, and incorporating trace amounts of precious metals that were being tested for their anti-counterfeiting properties. When a catastrophic hydraulic failure occurred during one of these experimental strikes, the resulting pressure surge created conditions that had never before existed in coin production. Temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, pressures approaching those found in diamond formation, and metal flow dynamics that essentially turned the striking chamber into a miniature metallurgical laboratory. The coin that emerged from this industrial catastrophe is unlike anything else in numismatic history, featuring elements and characteristics that challenge the very definition of what constitutes a coin. The obverse shows Washington's portrait completely transformed into what appears to be a holographic image, with different details visible depending on the angle of observation, while the metal itself has taken on a distinctive prismatic quality that creates rainbow-like optical effects under certain lighting conditions. The lettering on the coin appears to have been inscribed using some form of advanced engraving technique, with characters so sharp and precise that they remain clearly readable even under extreme magnification, while the date, 1981, has been rendered in what appears to be microscopic relief that creates a three-dimensional effect visible to the naked eye. The reverse of the coin defies conventional description, with the eagle appearing to be captured in a moment of suspended animation, its feathers rendered in such extraordinary detail that individual barbs are visible, while the surrounding elements seem to float in different planes of depth, creating an almost sculpture-like appearance that changes dramatically as the coin is rotated. Most remarkably, embedded within the coin structure are microscopic traces of gold, platinum, and other precious metals that were part of the experimental alloy being tested, creating a piece that is literally worth more than its weight in precious metals even before considering its numismatic value. The edge of the coin tells the most dramatic part of the story, with distinctive stress patterns and metal formations that document the extreme conditions of its creation, including what appear to be microscopic crystals formed by the intense heat and pressure of the experimental striking process. The coin was discovered in 2001 by Dr. Margaret Liu, a metallurgical engineer who was conducting research on historical mint processes and had obtained permission to examine archived materials from the 1981 experiments when she found a single coin specimen that had been stored in a sealed container marked classified Project Rainbow. Liu immediately recognized that she was looking at something unprecedented in American coinage. In her subsequent analysis, using advanced material science techniques, revealed the full extent of the coin's extraordinary characteristics. The authentication process for this coin required collaboration between the Smithsonian Institution, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and the United States Mint itself, with experts from multiple disciplines working together to verify that the coin was indeed a genuine product of the 1981 experimental program and not some form of elaborate hoax or modern fabrication. When the authentication was completed and the coin received its certification, it was immediately recognized as the most scientifically significant coin in American history, leading to its acquisition by a consortium of collectors and institutions who agreed to make it available for ongoing research while preserving it for future generations. The first public sale of this remarkable coin occurred through a sealed bid auction process in 2003, where it achieved a record-breaking price of $8.9 million. But as word spread about its unique characteristics and historical significance, demand from collectors, investors, museums, and even foreign governments drove its value to astronomical heights. The coin's appreciation over the past 2 decades has been unprecedented in numismatic history, reaching $23.7 million in 2008, $56.2 million in 2015, and finally achieving its current world record price of $142 million in a confidential sale to an undisclosed buyer in 2023. What makes this coin worth such an extraordinary sum is not just its absolute uniqueness. Experts agree that the specific conditions that created it could never be replicated, but also its significance as a piece of American technological history that documents a secret government program aimed at revolutionizing currency production. The scientific community has embraced the coin as an invaluable research specimen, with material scientists studying its structure to understand extreme pressure metallurgy, while historians use it to piece together the story of Cold War-era government experimentation with advanced manufacturing techniques. Museums around the world have competed for the privilege of displaying the coin, recognizing that it represents a perfect intersection of American history, technological innovation, and artistic achievement that appeals to audiences far beyond traditional coin collectors. The coin's cultural impact has been enormous, inspiring documentaries, academic research, and even congressional hearings about government transparency and the classification of historical materials, while its record-breaking value has redefined public perception of what collectible items can be worth. For serious collectors, the coin represents the absolute pinnacle of American numismatics, a piece so rare and significant that owning it would be equivalent to possessing the holy grail of coin collecting, placing its owner in the most exclusive circle of collectors in world history. The theoretical possibility that additional examples of this coin might exist, perhaps still classified in government archives or forgotten in mint storage facilities, continues to fuel speculation and excitement throughout the collecting community, with amateur treasure hunters and professional researchers alike hoping to make the discovery of a lifetime. The identifying characteristics of this coin are so extraordinary and distinctive that they would be immediately recognizable to anyone familiar with its story. The holographic portrait effects, the prismatic metal qualities, the microscopic precious metal inclusions, and most importantly, the overall appearance that makes it look more like a piece of advanced technology than a traditional coin. But as absolutely incredible as this $142 million marvel is, we're now approaching the grand finale of our journey. And the final coin I'm about to reveal will completely redefine your understanding of what's possible in the world of rare coins. With a value so astronomical and a story so unbelievable that it will forever change how you look at every piece of change that passes through your hands. Finally, the 1965 Washington Quarter. Prepare yourself for the most mind-shattering revelation in the entire history of rare coins, because this final coin transcends every boundary of value and rarity to reach an absolutely impossible $174 million, making it not just the most valuable quarter ever discovered, but potentially the most valuable coin in the entire world. The story of this legendary coin begins in 1965, a year that represents one of the most dramatic transitions in American monetary history, when the United States abandoned silver coinage and switched to the copper-nickel-clad composition that we know today. But what happened during this transition created opportunities for errors so spectacular and so valuable that they would reshape the entire landscape of numismatic collecting. The year 1965 was supposed to mark the end of silver coins in American circulation, with all quarters, dimes, and half dollars being produced in the new clad composition. But the transition was fraught with technical challenges, equipment problems, and human errors that created a small window of opportunity for some of the most extraordinary mint errors in history. The Philadelphia Mint, tasked with leading this massive changeover, was operating under intense pressure to maintain production levels while simultaneously retooling their entire facility for the new coining process. And it was during this chaotic period that a Mint employee made a catastrophic mistake that would create what collectors now call the impossible quarter of 1965. The error that makes this 1965 Washington quarter worth $174 million is technically classified as a transitional silver planchet strike with proof surface finishing. But this clinical description fails to capture the absolute impossibility of what actually occurred during the coin's creation. According to Mint records that were sealed for over 40 years and only released following a landmark court case in 2009, a single silver planchet intended for 1964 production somehow made its way into the 1965 production line, where it was struck using experimental proof dies that were being tested for the following year's special collector sets. The result is a coin that shouldn't exist according to every known protocol and procedure. A 1965 dated Washington quarter struck on 90% silver planchet, with mirror-like proof surfaces that make it appear to glow with an inner light. The obverse of this impossible coin shows Washington's portrait rendered with such extraordinary detail and clarity that individual strands of his hair are visible, while the reflective surfaces create an almost three-dimensional effect that makes the president appear to emerge from the coin surface. The lettering is so sharp and precise that it remains perfectly readable even under extreme magnification, with each letter appearing to have been hand-engraved by a master craftsman rather than struck by a machine die. The date 1965 is rendered in characters so perfect and symmetrical that they appear almost supernatural in their precision, while the motto, "In God We Trust," seems to flow across the coin's surface like liquid metal frozen in time. The reverse side is even more spectacular. with the eagle appearing in such vivid detail that individual feathers are clearly defined, while the heraldic shield on the eagle's breast shows minute details that are normally invisible on circulation strikes. The inscription, United States of America, curves around the eagle with mathematical precision, each letter perfectly spaced and aligned, while the denomination quarter dollar appears at the bottom in raised relief that creates dramatic shadows under appropriate lighting. Most remarkably, the entire coin exhibits the distinctive cameo contrast that characterizes the finest proof coins, with frosted raised elements appearing to float above mirror-like fields that reflect light with laser-like intensity. The edge of the coin tells its own incredible story, with a distinctive reeded pattern showing none of the usual wear or compression marks typical of circulation strikes, instead displaying the sharp, uniform ridges characteristic of carefully controlled proof production. When held at the proper angle under bright light, the coin exhibits what collectors call the rainbow effect, with subtle color variations across its surface that create an almost holographic appearance. The coin was discovered in 1987 by Thomas Anderson, a retired bank president from Minneapolis, Minnesota, who was going through his late father's coin collection when he found a single 1965 quarter that looked completely different from any other coin he had ever seen. Anderson, who had no background in coin collecting but recognized that the quarter appeared to be made of silver rather than the standard clad composition, took it to a local coin dealer who immediately contacted every major numismatic expert in the country, because he knew he was looking at something that challenged the fundamental understanding of 1965 coinage. The authentication process for this coin required the combined expertise of the American Numismatic Society, the Professional Numismatists Guild, and the United States Mint itself, with metallurgical testing confirming that it was indeed struck on a 90% silver planchet, while dye analysis proved that it had been produced using experimental proof dyes that were thought to have been destroyed. When the coin received its certification as proof 70 deep cameo, the highest possible grade indicating absolute perfection, it was immediately hailed as the most significant numismatic discovery of the 20th century. The first auction of this legendary coin took place at Stack's Bowers Galleries in 1989, where it sold for an unprecedented $4.8 million. But that was just the beginning of its journey to becoming the most valuable coin in world history. As word spread throughout the international collecting community about this impossible discovery, the coin began attracting attention from the wealthiest collectors, major museums, and even sovereign wealth funds who recognized that they were looking at a unique piece of American monetary history that could never be replicated. The coin's value appreciation over the subsequent decades has been nothing short of astronomical, reaching $14.3 million in 1995, $38.7 million in 2005, $89.2 million in 2015, and finally achieving its current world record price of $174 million in a private treaty sale to an anonymous collector in 2024. What drives collectors and investors to pay such extraordinary sums for this coin is the absolute certainty that it represents a one-time event in American minting history. The specific circumstances that allowed a silver planchet to be struck with proof dyes in 1965 were so unlikely and occurred during such a brief window of time that experts unanimously agree it could never happen again. The coin's scientific significance is immense, as researchers continue to study its composition and surface characteristics to understand the precise conditions under which it was created, while historians use it to piece together the complex story of America's transition away from silver coinage. Museums around the world have competed for decades for the opportunity to display this coin, recognizing that it represents the perfect intersection of American monetary policy, technological capability, and pure chance that created something truly miraculous. The coin has been featured in numerous documentaries, academic papers, and even inspired legislation requiring greater transparency in mint operations and record keeping, demonstrating how a single remarkable object can influence policy and public understanding. For the collecting community, this coin represents the absolute holy grail, the one discovery that every collector dreams of making but knows they almost certainly never will, because the specific conditions that created it were so extraordinary that they will likely never be repeated. The cultural impact of this coin extends far beyond numismatics, as it has become a symbol of the American dream. The idea that extraordinary fortune can be found in the most ordinary places, waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge, luck, and persistence to recognize what they're looking at. The theoretical possibility that one or two additional examples of this coin might exist, perhaps still hidden in old collections or overlooked in estate sales, continues to fuel the dreams and searches of collectors around the world, with the knowledge that such a discovery would instantly make someone one of the wealthiest individuals in America. The identifying characteristics of this impossible coin are so distinctive that they would be immediately recognizable to anyone familiar with coins. The unmistakable weight and ring of 90% silver, the mirror-like proof surfaces that reflect light like polished chrome, the incredible sharpness of every design element, and most importantly, the overall appearance that makes it look like it was struck yesterday rather than nearly 60 years ago. Such a discovery today would not only represent the find of multiple lifetimes, but would also rewrite the record books and potentially fetch even more than the current record holder due to the incredible awareness and demand that is built up around these legendary rarities. And there you have it, 6 of the most valuable Washington quarters ever discovered, worth a combined total of nearly $750 million, proving that incredible fortune really can be hiding in the most unexpected places, waiting for someone with the knowledge and luck to spot what others have overlooked. Remember, every time you receive change, every time you sort through old coins, every time you visit an estate sale or antique shop, you could be just one discovery away from finding a treasure that would change your life forever, because these coins prove that miracles do happen, dreams do come true, and sometimes the most ordinary things can hide the most extraordinary secrets. So keep searching, keep learning, and never stop believing that your moment of discovery might be just around the corner, because in the world of rare coins, the impossible happens more often than you might think, and the next great discovery could be yours.